always ready to go. You're always ready to go.
I try to always be prepared. You could go stand over there against the wall. Stop. Because now it's going to start raising my head. Yes, I heard it. She's singing a song. Same one she was singing yesterday. It's a nice song. Something about it. I can't remember what song it is. Something like so excited. Can't wait.
All right, please.
Please be seated. Ready to take up before we commence?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
Nothing defense judge said.
You may call your next witness.
The people would call Christopher Hess.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated in the witness chair. If you'll give me your full name and spell both for the record, please.
Full name is Christopher Hess. The last name is spelled H-E-S-S.
Christopher in the traditional way.
C-H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R.
Thank you.
Sir, where are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed with Ford Motor Company.
And where did you work previous to that?
I was employed by the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
When did you retire from the Federal Bureau of Investigations? Can I call it FBI?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easier for all of us.
Perfect. When did you retire from the FBI?
September of 2025.
Okay. How long were you in law enforcement total?
About a little over 27 years. I was a police officer and then joined the FBI.
Start with when you were a police officer and tell me what year that was in.
So from 1998 to 2004, I was a police officer in New York. I started with the City of White Plains Police Department and then transferred to the Town of Mount Pleasant Police Department. And from there, joined the FBI.
Do you recall what year you joined the FBI?
That was April of 2004.
What was your role with the FBI?
When I first started with the FBI, I was a special agent conducting investigations in Detroit, Michigan as a member of the Violent Crime Task Force.
Did you take on, when you say the Violent Crimes Task Force, what types of crimes are you talking?
Anything from crimes against children, kidnappings, bank robberies, serial type investigations, serial robberies, serial homicide, gang investigations, weapons.
Were you a supervisor at any point in time?
I was, yes.
How long was that for?
In 2015, I was promoted to supervisor, and I oversaw our surveillance unit. And then from there, I was transitioned over to our Oakland County office, where I supervised all FBI investigations for that county. And then my next stop as a supervisor was a supervisor for the cellular analysis survey team through FBI headquarters. And at the conclusion of my career, I finished in the Detroit division as an assistant special agent in charge.
Were you part of any specialized teams for the FBI?
I was. Several different teams. One was, as I mentioned, the cellular analysis survey team, which we refer to as CAST. I was a SWAT team member, a SWAT team leader, a behavioral analysis unit coordinator, and crisis management coordinator.
You said CAST, C-A-S-T?
Correct.
Can you tell me more about that team?
So CAST is a group of subject matter experts in analyzing cell phone records as it relates to criminal investigations, national security investigations, and cell phone providers to understand how networks operate, how the cell phones operate, and the information that can be gleaned from those records.
Tell me about the training, the number of trainings that you had to receive to become specifically trained to be a member of that cast.
So all total is roughly between 400 and 500 hours of training that takes place over approximately 18 months to 2 years to complete in order to be able to become certified as a member of the cellular analysis service.
And were you certified?
I was, yes.
In what year were you certified?
2010, I was one of the first 10 in the FBI to be certified.
2010?
Correct.
Have you ever testified in any court before?
I have.
Which courts, if you can recall to the best of your recollection?
I've testified in both federal and state court throughout the state of Michigan, but also around the country. Much of my testimony was in Detroit, Third Circuit Court, Eastern District of Michigan, in federal court, Western District. Testified in federal court in Virginia, Rhode Island, and district and circuit courts all throughout Michigan, but in other states as well.
Were you qualified as an expert in those cases?
I was.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to admit Mr. Hess as an expert in cellular analysis.
Any objection?
I'm not going to object for prelim purposes, Your Honor. If it does move on to a circuit court hearing, I may ask for a Goldberg hearing. I didn't know there was going to be an expert for our hearing. I'm not going to object.
All right, thank you.
When you're doing a cellular analysis, what's the purpose of doing that analysis?
It is to be able to corroborate or refute information that we received throughout the course of the investigation. Because of the prevalence of cell phones in society, it's a helpful indicator to use data from the cell phone companies to identify where a device was at a given moment in time. So when you take that and you compare it to the facts and the information that you have in an investigation, you can make determinations about whether or not that phone was in proximity to a crime scene or some other event. Can
you describe for the court the technology behind the specific analysis you do?
Sure. So I'm sure many are carrying cell phones at this time. You have your cell phone provider, and that phone that you purchase is designed to communicate with the network that's out there from the cell phone provider. They all operate on their own frequency band that's assigned by the FCC, and your phone is designed to communicate with that network. So to give an example, if the podium was a cell phone tower for Verizon, it would emit a signal in the area for all Verizon phones that were in proximity to see that tower exist and also be able to use it for services if you want to make a call, receive a call, send a text message. And that would be your communication point. That would be your entry point into the network. Once that call or text message or data event takes place, the cell phone company maintains a record of it. And that's for business purposes. It's not necessarily for law enforcement assistance. That's how they make their money. It's population density, network planning, if they need more towers, fewer towers. And based on that information they record, we in law enforcement have been able to use that as part of our investigations to determine where a device was at a given time.
And was this the same technology that, it's been 16 years, so in 2010, is this the same thing that you're doing with this cell analysis?
Yeah, the basic premise is the same. Of course, with any technology, we're advanced at this point in time. So things that we're able to do today, we weren't able to do back in 2010 or prior to that. However, it doesn't change the fact that the phone communicates with the tower, a call is initiated, terminated, information is exchanged, that generates a record, and that record is produced as part of legal process.
Can you describe the cell sites and sectors? What are those?
So if I go back to the podium, if that's your cell phone tower, the cell phone tower generally covers 360 degrees. In order to be able to accommodate as many people as possible in that area, they will break that cell phone tower up into what's called sectors, so slices of the pie. And if we use the 360 degree example, the slice of the pie would be roughly 120 degrees. So if you look at clock from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, would be one sector, from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, another sector, 8 o'clock to back to 12, another sector. So to further break that down, if the podium is your cell phone tower, the judge may be in one sector, the cameras would be in another sector, and then everyone in the gallery would be in a completely different sector. That's all identifiable. If they make a phone call from that side of the tower, the identifiers that are unique to that side of the tower show up on the records. That's how we're able to tell what side a call was connected on.
And when you just said that's how you can tell when a call was connected, is it only specific to phone calls, or would that include other things on that phone?
No, it could be phone calls, it could be text messages. Nowadays with so much going through data connections, you would also get data connection information.
What is data connection information?
So if you're using an app, if you're checking your email, and you're not engaged in an actual phone conversation or sending a short message, you're listening to a podcast or you're scrolling for a podcast, that would create a data connection.
Did you become involved in a case in Morenci, Michigan in 2010?
They did.
Do you recall approximately when that was?
Thanksgiving timeframe of 2010.
Okay, how did you become involved?
The FBI has its main headquarters, which was in Detroit, and then we have what's called resident agencies throughout the state of Michigan. Our Ann Arbor resident agency had received an Amber Alert related to 3 missing boys. The resident agencies tend to be a little bit smaller in manpower, so they have requested assistance from the squads downtown in headquarters city in Detroit.
So did you physically come down to Morenci?
They did.
What did you do when you got to Morenci?
When I got to Morenci, I worked in the command post throughout the duration of the investigation. And my primary purpose was to start working the cell phone investigation side of the investigation, but also to help coordinate the additional resources that the FBI was sending from downtown.
Did you go out on any of the physical searches for the boys to any locations?
There were, as I recall, there was one instance where I did go out to follow up on a lead. I think it was on the Ohio-Michigan border, and I went out with the chief of police on that, but everything else was working from the command post.
When you say the command post or the command center, do you know where that was located at?
As I think it was at the police department.
So as part of the cell analysis that you wanted to do in this case, what did you do?
The investigators involved in the case started coordinating with them to identify cell phone numbers of interest in the matter, and explain to them some of the things that we could do if we were able to get that information, contacting the cell phone providers, and get what's called exigent records sent to us, which is a snapshot in time, a smaller sample of records that we can start building our investigation off of.
And did you get a phone number of interest that you wanted to build this on, this
I-
case analysis on?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and can you give me the last 4 digits of it, the number, if you recall?
I don't recall of the,
Does 2072 sound familiar?
yes,
Okay. You indicated that you wanted to get these numbers so that you could do what you called an exigent search, is that accurate?
yes, an exigent request to the cell phone
Exigent
provider.
request.
Mhm.
Okay, can you describe what that is for me?
So, an exigent request would be in a case where there's a serious risk of death or further serious physical injury. We have the legal means to go to a cell phone provider, explain the emergency, and request records from the cell phone provider in a very specific time frame, a shortened time frame. And the cell phone provider has the opportunity to deny the request, but in many instances they agree with the articulation of the emergency, provide that limited data set so that we can begin working and hopefully mitigate whatever threat there is.
Do you recall the dates that you requested for this particular target number?
I believe we were focused on November 25th and 26th.
And, silly question, but can you just tell me what the target phone number is?
The target phone number would be the number of interest,
So it's-
and in this case, the 2072 number.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Okay. Any objection?
No, Your Honor. I'm in receipt, review, stipulate, no objection whatsoever.
I've handed the witness People's Exhibit 45, which again, Mr. Amadeus indicated we've previously stipulated to. Did you receive a set of information from, did you say it was Verizon in this case?
Yes,
Did you receive that information from them?
yes,
And did you do an analysis?
I did.
Tell me, when you do the analysis, you take that information Verizon gives you, and then what do you do with it?
So there's a couple of pieces of information that you received from Verizon. It would be what's called the call detail records, which would be the date, a recording of the date, time, numbers involved in a call or an interaction, a text message. It also provides the duration of that interaction, as well as the cell towers that were used for that interaction. In order to translate that into a usable product, we need another data set, which is the cell phone tower list for the company. And Verizon provides that list as well. So on the call detail records, you would have a coded entry for the cell site that was used. You look for that coded entry on the tower list, and that corresponds with the address, the GPS coordinates for that cell site. That's how we're able to identify the geographic area where that cell site is located.
Okay. And there was a visual aid to kind of help explain the data as we plotted it, is that correct?
Yes,
And that would be the exhibit we're looking at?
yes.
Can you describe to me, well, first let me ask you this, strike that. On November 25th, 2010, was there any information that stood out to you from those records?
Yes, there was activity on that device.
Okay, and can you tell me about the activity that would be Thanksgiving Day the 25th?
Looking at the exhibit, there was call activity or cell phone activity that showed consistency with an address in Morenci, Michigan. That tower would be cell site 622, and specifically sector 1, which in this case happened to be the north side of that tower. So roughly from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock on a clock. And then over a period of time, there was additional activity that showed the device.
I'm gonna stop you really quick.
Sure.
So the one you're reading off right now is for the 26th of November, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so for the 25th of November, do you recall where that phone was located?
as I recall, the vast majority of the the activity for that device was in Morenci on Tower 622.
On Tower 622, consistent with that 112 East Congress address?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, now, November 26th, what are you finding for November 26th?
So on November 26th, there is additional call activity, information on the call detail records, and there was activity that showed the device on that Tower 622, and then there was additional activity that showed the device approximately 19 and a half miles away on two different towers, those being Tower 480 and Tower 485.
And where are those at on on the map that we're looking at?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Where, so the towers that you just described, did you say 480 and 485?
Correct.
Okay, so where would that be on the map?
So those would be to the far left.
So number 3 and number 4?
Yes.
Number 3 would be Tower 480, is that?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and then, did you get any other additional information from this?
Yes, I did. So with Verizon, there's an additional layer of information that's available to you. Not only does it tell you the tower and the side of the tower that the device used, it provides a distance, an estimated distance from the tower that that device was when it accessed the network. And that's helpful because cell towers can cover a fairly large area, geographic area. This helps narrow it down to a more concise area that we focus on. So again, going back to Tower 622, you see yellow lines which indicate how far that device was estimated to be, which corresponds with the geographic area consistent with the Congress address. As you move to the what's labeled as 3 and 4, that device used two different sides of the tower 480, and then also used a side of the tower of 485. So moving a distance of about 19 and a half miles to the west, that would be indicative to me in my experience of the device did in fact travel.
If that device is traveling 19 and a half miles south, how does it know which tower it's going to use? Does that make sense?
I think so. So as you move around with your mobile device, there are signals that are constantly exchanged between the network and your phone. So your phone is constantly searching for a tower with a good, strong signal to communicate with. So as it goes through, it sees its most attractive tower, but it also sees approximately 5 other towers in the area. So as you move around, you get a little bit closer to one tower versus another, that prioritization changes. So if I make a call and I'm on this tower, I'm close to this tower, tower number 1, let's say, at a point in time, but I'm on the move, I'm driving up I-75. I complete that call, 4 or 5 miles north on I-75, that previous tower is no longer as attractive to me. I go to my list, I see the next tower that I'm close to, that is now the more attractive tower, and that's where I'm going to request resources from the network.
Is it always going to be the closest tower to that device that it's going to connect to?
Not necessarily. There's environmental conditions, there's topography, there are buildings that you could physically be closer to a tower, but there's something in the way that obstructs the line of sight for that phone and that tower. So if I was standing, at the base of a skyscraper in New York City, there may be a tower and an antenna on that building on the opposite side of the building that I'm standing on. However, a half mile up Fifth Avenue, another tower that is shooting signal right down the road, then I have a clear line of sight. That's what my phone is going to choose.
When we talk about is it distance to tower?
Yes.
Is there, when they come up with this number, so it's approximately 2.3 miles from this particular site, is there any kind of margin of error, rate of error on those numbers?
There is.
Okay.
There
Do you
is.
know-
It's not a true GPS coordinate for the device. It is an algorithm, it's a calculation conducted by the network that says, based on the time it takes from the tower signal to get to the phone signal to get back to the tower, mathematically, they estimate the distance that the device was. So in other words, if you're closer to the tower, that transaction happens a lot quicker than if you're a few miles away.
Further away, okay. Did you do anything else as it relates to this particular slide with that number?
Just continuing with the analysis, trying to give some perspective to the investigators. Given the travel distance, looking for sort of a landmark in the area to consider. And on the map, I did mark the Lazy River Campground just to show some sites that would be in proximity to those towers. And then there was a period of time, not only did we look for, I guess, for lack of a better, positive activity and negative activity, right? Positive activity would be those records that are actually generated and appear on the sheet of paper, but we're also looking for gaps in activity. And in this case, between 5:04 a.m. and 6:46 a.m., there was no data generated. So there was no interaction between the device and the tower.
When there is no data being generated between the device and the tower, what are the possible explanations for that?
It could very simply be that there's no calls, no text messages, no data sessions taking place. Another explanation, the device gets turned off and disconnected from the network.
So that was between 5:04 a.m. and 6:46 a.m. Is that accurate, where there's no data?
Correct.
If the cell phone records showed that there were either incoming calls or text messages or anything else going on with that phone, but they were not being received between 5:04 and 6:46, but not actually being received by the phone until after 6:46, is that indicative of anything in particular?
Well, so there's no record generated by the cell phone company, so there was no information passed to and from the device.
Okay.
At a later time, the device does come back up on network, does reconnect with the tower, and does end up generating call detail records.
Okay. And where is the device when it comes back on at 6:46?
That next activity was back on tower 622.
And that's consistent with the 112 East Congress in Morenci, Michigan.
Right, the geographic area that is in.
And I heard you testify earlier, but I just want to make sure I understand. There is a point plotted on the map, and it says A, and it's labeled Lazy River Campground. Again, you're not indicating that the phone was at Lazy River Campground. You're just saying that that is a point on the map you can plot to show geographically where we're at.
Correct, yes.
I'm going to have you flip to the second page. Based on the information that you put together on that last page, what did you then do?
So through the analysis, just trying to review the records, review the timeline that we're dealing with, trying to determine, search areas that we can look for these children. And based on the time frame that we're dealing with the phone records and the gap in records being generated, extrapolated how far that device could potentially get in a round trip from starting at Congress and ending at Congress. And that is what is depicted on this slide now to show continuous movement, not accounting for a period of time where you may stop. But if you think about, on a football field, you run from one end zone to back and then back to the other end zone, how long that would take you to make that round trip.
So can you explain what each point, you have 1 through 5, can you explain what each of those are?
So again, those are estimations to show if the vehicle was traveling at 30 miles per hour with a 60-minute time frame. That round trip would be roughly 38.25 miles. That's the furthest you could get in that time frame. And then if it was traveling at 40 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour, all the way up to 70 miles per hour, estimated how far the furthest, the max distance they could get before return.
So for each one, so for number 1, we're saying if he's doing 30 miles per hour, that's a consistent 30 miles per hour the entire 76 and a half minutes.
Yes.
Okay. And again, page 3, is that,
Yes, that further summarizes the previous slide.
the same slide, just on a different?
Yes.
So you indicated that the information that you're getting, the positive and the negative, right? So you've got information that's coming in, and then you have gaps of information.
Correct.
Why are the gaps just as important as the information that you are able to plot?
Something we look at oftentimes, or I will look at, is what we refer to as pattern of life. And so we're all very much creatures of habit. So if you were to consider your own life and what it would look like on phone records, we'd probably be able to tell when you typically leave for work, how long, when you arrive at work, how long you spend at work, and then when you leave work and return home. And we would see that repeated Monday through Friday. And then we may see a change in that pattern Saturday and Sunday, and then return back to that pattern the following Monday. In my experience, I would look for those gaps in time where, and it's happened many times, where during the period of time where a crime was committed, disconnect from the network, and that now creates a red flag for a deviation from the normal pattern.
And in this case, you only had records for the 2 days, correct?
Correct.
So did you do any kind of pattern of life analysis?
No, it's too small of a data sample to create that pattern.
When you put this together, how long did it take you to put together the distances and plot this on the map, do you think?
I mean, that was happening real time in the command post.
What did you do with that information once you put that together?
That was shared with the investigators. Each day, multiple times a day, we would have case briefings and identify any leads that we needed to follow up on, close out any leads that had been resolved, and then determine what the next course of action in the investigation would be. So this information is shared with the investigators to try and hone in on areas that we could potentially search for the missing children.
Did you stay at the command center during this period of time?
I did, yes.
Were you directing other people to certain locations?
No, not at that point. At that point in time, I would have been a special agent, so effectively a street agent. So I'm passing on information to the incident commanders.
So, I just want to make sure that I don't know if you've testified to this already. So at number 2, 4:29 a.m., he's about 3.3 miles from his home. Is that accurate?
Yes, the target telephone, yes, 3.3 miles from the target address.
And because of the previous number 1, where was that located?
That was 0.8 miles from the cell site.
So by 4:29, does that mean that target phone is moving from that residence?
That would be my interpretation, yes.
And again, number 3, so that's about 31 minutes later, is that
Yes.
accurate? And 19.5 miles, is that correct?
Right, so it was 2.3 miles from cell site 480, and the distance between cell site 622 and 480 is roughly 19.5 miles.
And the last time that that cell phone connects to a tower is what time?
I believe it would have been 5:04 a.m.
And that's tower 4? Or the tower that's marked with the 4 on the exhibit, correct?
Yeah, so tower 485.
And then nothing for how long?
From 5:04 to 6:46 p.m. So was that an hour and 42 minutes?
So hour and 42 minutes before it's back in Morenci.
Before the next activity shows up on the records, yes.
And you're here today testifying about what the device data is telling you, correct?
Correct.
You're not saying a specific person had it, right?
No, I'm simply looking at the records associated with 2072.
Okay. So possession of that phone would be based on the rest of the investigation, correct?
Correct.
I have nothing further.
Ross?
Good afternoon, Agent Hess. So can I call you Agent Hess?
Sure.
I want to inspect your possession.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No
That's
problem.
fine.
So just a couple simple questions, I guess. Were you actually part of search teams at all?
No,
Okay. And did you actually get to view any of the text messages or the metadata itself?
no, I
Okay.
purely looked at the Verizon records.
Okay, so did cell phone triangulation play a role in this?
No.
Okay. What is cell phone triangulation?
it's taking GPS points from a device that may be coming from the network.
Okay, now, you mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, that environmental factors could play a role in your analysis.
It could, yes.
Okay, can you explain that?
Yeah, if there's a mountain range, or you're in a valley, or mainly topography when I'm referring to that.
So, would there be a difference between an urban and a rural area? Rural area when you're doing your analysis?
Potentially.
Okay. Did you analyze that in this analysis or not?
I was familiar with the geographic area.
Okay, and can weather play a role?
Negligible.
Do you know what the weather was on November 25th and 26th, 2010, Lorenzi?
As I recall, actually, no, I can't say precisely what it was.
Now, are there time lags in the analysis? Is there like a percentage of error we should expect or not?
Is there what?
A time lag in the analysis? Like, could it say 403 but really be 406? Because you mentioned there's a difference between this and GPS coordinates, correct?
Yes.
Okay. As far as the timing, because people made a big issue about 4:29 a.m., 5 a.m. Is that exact time, or could there be a percentage of error?
That's the exact time. That's what's
So there
recorded.
is no percentage of error in this analysis whatsoever?
That's what's recorded by the cell phone company on their network.
Now, at 5:04 a.m., looking up there, actually, if you look at number 3, approximately 5 a.m., was located at 2.3 miles from Verizon cell site. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, and what city would that be, do you know? If you know, it's okay, sir.
I don't, it's not labeled on the map, and I don't recall.
Now, we talked a lot about 30 miles per hour. That was just a hypothetical, correct?
Correct.
Do we know what the speed limit was in this area?
I don't know that it was relevant.
Well, would the speed affect the analysis whatsoever?
It was accounted for in the analysis.
Okay. Do you know what the speed limit was?
I don't. It probably varied from the different roads.
Now, if a cell phone dies or somebody shuts it off, is there any way to tell during that dead period where the phone is? Or is that going to kill the analysis during that time frame?
It's disconnected from the network, so there's no communication between the devices.
And there's no technology that would help us with that?
No.
Okay. Let me ask you this with your cell phone expertise. If text messages are deleted, can they be brought back to life?
Yeah, forensic examination of the device is potential.
Okay. Well, when you say potential, and let me be clear, I don't know if I'm going too far with what his analysis was, but as a cell phone expert, that's why I was asking that question. So when you say it could be brought back to life, is there a process you played a role in at all that would do that?
Well, I want to clarify, there's a difference between the cell site analysis and the forensic analysis of the actual physical device.
Okay, please explain.
So what I'm talking about is the cell site analysis. I didn't have any part in the forensic analysis of any devices.
Okay. Do you know during the investigation if actual text messages were recovered and reviewed?
I don't know.
Okay, nothing further, thank you.
Can we approach? as you might tell from my bouffant, I'm a bit on the elderly side. And even though yours is about the same color, I think I've got you by a few. I want to be perfectly clear that I'm understanding what you're saying. And if I'm going to nutshell this, that at about, when we start this at 4:13 in the morning, the phone that we're talking about that belongs to John, that number is assigned to him, yes?
Correct.
Travels approximately 19 and a half miles and gets connected up with a second cell and a third cell tower. Correct? That's somewhere around Lazy River Campground.
If I can make a distinction, the distance is from the tower to the campground.
Right.
That's just to give a geographic span.
Okay.
The actual travel of the device distance, that I don't have.
But it would, what we are saying is that that phone that's assigned to him with that number and the instrument assigned to that phone number would have been at this location somewhere between 485 and 480 tower for about 2 hours.
No, I can't say that it would be there for about 2 hours because we have a period of time where there is no activity.
Okay.
So I can't account for where the device went. If it's
After it got that far.
right, so if it drives out a distance, stops for a minute, stops for 20 minutes in that window, and then does some other driving around, I don't have any data to use to be able to account for that.
But we do know that from that point, which was the last series of points we have, were the 485 and 480, right? The pinging off those towers, that he doesn't reappear until 2 hours later.
Correct.
So there's about 2 hours and some change that he's out there doing something, we just don't know what.
Right, unaccounted for, and no question in my mind that the device did move, and it moved a considerable distance away, and if the device were to remain at Congress, it would not communicate with towers 19 and a half miles away.
Gotcha. Because it would pick the closest, strongest connection.
Correct, and
Which is why the question about, or the example about the being in the city of New York and having a skyscraper in front of you, it may go down the road to another tower because it's a clear shot.
right, and Morenci doesn't have any skyscrapers, and there's a tower 0.8 miles from where the device accesses.
Gotcha. All right. Anybody have questions based on the court's inquiry?
Oh, I've done, Judge, thank you.
Just a handful of questions. So when you gave the example about the podium being a Verizon tower and picking up Verizon
Signal.
signal, thank you. Does that only work, so I know there's Verizon, Sprint, there's multiple different phone companies, so tell me how that works with towers versus the different phone companies.
So each phone company is assigned their range of frequencies. So your phone is tuned to the frequency for your cell phone provider. So probably not a technical term, but your phone's not riding around willy-nilly connecting to T-Mobile, then Verizon, then Sprint, AT&T at any given point in time. If you get out of a coverage area for your cell phone provider, you may roam on another network, but that's through a roaming agreement. Again, it's going to be very defined, Verizon being the size of a company that it is, that circumstance would be extremely rare to
sectors themselves, so do you see the red phone shaped items on the maps?
Yes,
Okay, and what would that be indicative of?
that's the icon to depict the tower.
The tower
cell phone
itself?
tower, yep.
Okay, and then the yellow, so let's just look at Congress Street, for instance, you've got the yellow going out. What is that depicting?
That pie wedge with the arc at the outer limit is simply to illustrate the side of the tower and the orientation that sector is pointing out.
And that would be the same for towers 480 and 485?
Correct. It doesn't depict the limits of the coverage. It just shows it uses this side of the tower, which is oriented to the north.
Okay, and the sectors, so this, I don't know if I'm gonna ask this correctly, so correct me if I am not. So Tower 3 and Tower 4, you can see the south side of Tower 3, the radius, around that sector. And then 485, the north side, you'll see that radius on that sector. Are those, is it common for those towers to have sectors that intersect with each other?
There would be some overlap, yes. Because, again, it's radio frequency, so you have to account for some overlap so that there's not a gap in coverage.
Okay.
So, that just helps with the continuity in the network. And in fact, going back to Defense Counsel's question earlier about triangulation, if I saw repeated calls coming off of, let's say, 3 different towers in that area, and I hit the northeast side of one tower, the southwest side of another tower, and the northwest side of another tower, and I'm bouncing between those towers from call to call to call, that triangulation would tell me that I'm in a tighter area where it would tell me where that device is more precisely in that area, because I'm feeding information, or I'm getting information off of all 3 sectors that would overlap one another to an extent. So in order for me to be able to use all 3 of those resources, I'm likely right in the overlap.
What happens if I make a phone call and I'm in the area of Tower 480 and that tower picks up my signal, but I'm traveling? Tell me what happens with that connection.
So just the nature of mobile devices and the network, once you enter in, the network takes over and it starts managing the traffic of the call activity on its network. So they may move, the network itself may move you to a different tower just to be able to handle that traffic. But the initial connection point, the initial entry into the network, you have to be in the footprint of that tower that gets generated on the record. So if you think of, if you have a reservation at a restaurant, you walk up and you have now gained access to the restaurant. At that point, you have no control over what table they're going to seat you at, but you're in the room.
Okay. I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but when the records are generated from Verizon, and I originally connect to, I keep saying me, I'm just trying to give it as a way of example.
I understand.
I connect to Tower 480, and that company shifts me then to 485 because I'm traveling. How is that going to be reflected in those records, if you know?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. It doesn't get generated through Verizon in the record. You get the starting cell tower, which is where I knocked on the door to get in the network, and then you get the ending cell tower, which the ending cell tower is where you just happen to end up within the network traffic.
Would that be the terminating?
Terminating cell site, good.
Terminating cell site, okay. So in the example I just gave, when you said the records wouldn't reflect that, would I start in, my phone connects to Tower 480, then I traveled through to 485, and that's where I end the call. Would that call show where it originated and then terminated?
Yes.
As separate towers?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I have nothing further.
I have no cross based upon that, thank you.
Maybe step down?
Yes, Your Honor.
No objection.
Maybe be excused.
Yes, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our board, we appreciate the effort. You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, our next witness will be via Zoom. We need a few minutes, and I believe Mr. Armageddon needs
All
to
right,
leave
we'll
recess.
take a 15-minute break, give people an opportunity, cameras may need to readjust based on the Zoom.
And Judge, may we have like a 2-minute meeting in chambers real quick as well?
Yes, as soon as you have an opportunity.
Thanks.
All right, please. Thanks.
Eric, can you go this way?
What's that?
Can you go this way?
Victor, Shirley.